It all started on a regular Tuesday morning, a day that I would never forget. I had been working at Apex Innovations, a growing tech company, for over 5 years. I had started as an intern, learned the ropes, and worked my way up to an executive position. I was proud of my journey, but I had no idea that my loyalty to the company would soon be tested. I had always been dedicated, often putting in extra hours to make sure everything was perfect. I'd helped launch successful projects, led meetings with clients, and always delivered. I had become a trusted member of the team, respected by my colleagues and managers alike. But little did I know, the company I had poured my heart and soul into had something else in store for me. That fateful morning, I walked into the office just like any other day. I checked my emails, responded to messages, and prepared for a team meeting later in the afternoon. Then, I was called into Mr. Davis's office, the CEO of Apex Innovations. At first, I thought it was for a routine meeting, maybe a performance review or a new project to lead. But when I walked into that office and saw the look on his face, I knew something was wrong. "Sit down," he said, his voice cold and distant. I did as he asked, and he began talking in a tone that didn't quite match the words he was saying. He told me that due to company restructuring, my position was no longer needed. "We've decided to go in a different direction," he said. I sat there, stunned. I had worked so hard for this company. I had given it my all, sacrificing personal time, energy, and passion for its growth. And now, I was being told that I was expendable. I asked him for an explanation, but there was none. No reason. Just a corporate decision. The room seemed to shrink around me as his words settled in. I was being fired. For no reason. I couldn't believe it. I had given everything to this company, and they had decided that I wasn't worth keeping around anymore. I left the office that day with my head held high, but inside, I was crushed. That night, as I sat in my empty apartment, I felt the weight of the situation. How could this happen? How could someone like me, who had given so much, be discarded so easily? I spent hours thinking, angry at the injustice, but also at myself. I realized that it wasn't just the company's betrayal that hurt. It was the fact that I had put all my trust and value into something external, something that could let me go at a moment's notice. I knew right then that I had a choice. I could wallow in self-pity, I could blame the company, or I could turn this pain into power. And so, I made a decision that would change my life forever. I was going to take back control. The weeks after my firing were rough. There was a sense of defeat that followed me like a shadow, and at times, it felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I knew I couldn't just sit idle. I had to do something, anything to get back on my feet. I started by going through the motions of rebuilding my life. I focused on learning new skills, brushing up on business courses, and attending workshops. But the most important thing I did was take the time to rediscover who I was. For years, I had defined myself by my job. Being an executive at Apex Innovations was what gave me purpose, what gave me value. But now, I realized that I had to find that value in myself. One day, I took a step back and thought about what I had always wanted. Ever since I was a child, I had dreamed of starting my own business. I had the vision, the ideas, and the energy, but I had always pushed them aside because I was too focused on climbing the corporate ladder. Now, with my corporate career behind me, I could focus on my own dreams. I didn't have much money saved up, and I didn't have investors lining up to fund me. But I did have one thing that I knew was more important than anything else: determination. I knew this wasn't going to be easy. I had to start from the ground up. But for the first time in my life, I felt free. I wasn't constrained by office politics, corporate red tape, or a company that saw me as a cog in the wheel. I could finally build something that was mine. I began researching the tech industry to identify gaps in the market. I found that there was a significant need for innovative software solutions in small businesses. That's when the idea hit me. I could create a company that focused on helping small businesses scale through technology. I wasn't just going to create another software product. I was going to create a brand, a culture, and a legacy. Starting my business was no easy task. Every day was a battle against self-doubt, financial constraints, and the fear of failure. But I knew that if I could just make it through the tough times, the rewards would be worth it. I started by building a small team of like-minded individuals who shared my vision. I reached out to people I knew from my time at Apex and beyond. They were all aware of my potential, and they believed in me. Together, we worked tirelessly to build the product and market it to small businesses. We focused on building relationships and providing a service that was not only valuable, but also personalized. It wasn't long before we started gaining traction. We got our first few clients, and word of mouth began to spread. It was slow at first, but then things started to pick up. More clients came on board, and we started to scale faster than I had anticipated. I realized that I wasn't just building a business. I was building a movement. This wasn't just about money. It was about changing the way small businesses operated and giving them the tools they needed to compete with the big players in the industry. Every success, every milestone, made the pain of being fired seem like a distant memory. But I knew this was just the beginning. As my business grew, so did my reputation. People began to recognize the value I was providing to small businesses, and my company's growth accelerated. We expanded our services, hired more employees, and started partnering with other tech firms to offer comprehensive solutions. But as I was building my business, I couldn't help but think of Apex Innovations, the company that had once fired me. I knew they were watching. I knew they were wondering how I was doing. I had become their biggest competitor, and though they may have been too proud to admit it, I knew they had started to regret their decision. One day, I received an email from Mr. Davis, the CEO of Apex. He wanted to meet. I had a feeling I knew what this was about, but I agreed anyway. We met at a local cafe, and he didn't waste any time. "You've done well for yourself," he said, offering a forced smile. "I'm impressed with what you've built." I didn't respond immediately. I had to remind myself that I wasn't here to gloat. I was here to show him just how far I had come. "Thank you," I said calmly. "But I'm not here to talk about my success. I'm here to let you know that you'll regret firing me." The conversation was short and to the point. Mr. Davis apologized and tried to explain the company's decision. But I wasn't interested in his excuses. I had outgrown him, outgrown Apex, and I had something much bigger in mind. The next few months were a blur as I continued to grow my business. We expanded into new markets, launched new products, and gained the attention of major investors. One day, I received an offer that I had always dreamed of. Apex Innovations was up for sale. Without hesitation, I bought the company. It wasn't about the money. It was about control and about proving to everyone who ever doubted me that I could turn my dreams into reality. When I walked into Apex Innovations headquarters, as the new owner, I couldn't help but smile. I knew that this was the moment I had been waiting for. I had come full circle, and as I sat in the CEO's chair, I couldn't help but think about how far I had come, from being fired to becoming the one in charge. Mr. Davis never apologized, but that didn't matter anymore. I didn't need his approval. I had built something bigger than him, bigger than all the doubts and fears that had once held me back. I had proven to everyone that the real power lies in never giving up.